And away we go. Nightcap time. Wednesday, May 11th. Right here on BearcatJournal.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com to download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Get you some Galactic Fried Chicken. Tell them to pump it up and get 15%.
I did it tonight, Chad. I did it.
You went to Galactic Fried Chicken?
No, I'm still in Athens. But I did have the sauce on the jalapeno cheddar bratwurst that I had, and it was fantastic.
You said that was high on your list. I'm glad we got you motivated to make the brat and give it a shot. Sounds delightful.
It was fantastic. You don't need anything else. We did we took the aluminum pan and threw half can of beer in there, along with some onions, along with the brats, and boiled the beer down, threw the brats on the grill, had the onions and the Galactic sauce.
Chef's kiss. While you're there and getting your Galactic Fried Chicken, make sure to get you some sauce to take home, because it really actually is good on pretty much everything I've tried it on. We've tried it on cheese conies, brats, burgers. Like I said, we did sausages and ham for Mother's Day, cut up and dipped it in Galactic sauce. So yeah, there you go. All right, let's get into the basketball side of our position series that we're running here in the month of May. And since we did quarterback to start football, we figured, why not start basketball with point guard? That's the quarterback of the basketball team, if you will. So that's where we're going to start. We have two primary candidates at point guard: Indiana transfer, grad transfer, Rob Finney, and Cincinnati senior Micah Adams-Woods. And also, as a combo guard for the purpose of this exercise, we will be including some discussion about David DeJulius. I'm sure when we get to wings, we will also have David DeJulius discussion there as a two. But I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about DeJulius and what time he might get running the show this season as well. So let's get to it. You were going to say something? Oh, you opened your mouth like you had something to say. Do you do that before you type?
Well, I didn't know you were going to sew, and so I was...
Well, go ahead. People tell me I don't let you talk enough on this show.
It's
mainly
fun.
You.
I'm looking things up to have things to say to your points.
All right. Rob Finney comes in. You would expect, if you were projecting a starting lineup today, Rob Finney would be in it. He gives you defense. He gives you toughness. He gives you a little bit of an edge that I think last season's team was maybe lacking a little bit. I think he is all around going to be an addition that is going to benefit this team in the win-loss column. Does he need to be better on offense than he was last year at Indiana? Yeah. I think he would tell you that. I think he would probably tell you that he wasn't happy with the way he shot and scored the ball last year at Indiana. But the intangibles for Finney and the things that, there were what? There's 9 games decided in the final minute, and Cincinnati lost 6 of them last year. You've got to find a guy that's going to help you flip some of those losses to wins, and I think Finney is a guy that's going to be able to help them do that.
Looking at their basketball card, if you will, their stats over their course of their career, it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning this battle. I think you bring in Finney to start, but there's not many stats that Finney has over Micah Adams Woods. All things.
Yeah, but
it is Big
you're
Ten.
It
is Big Ten versus the American. I understand that.
And you had Finney playing with a lot more talent around him. He wasn't really tasked with,
right.
Yeah, like the role of Finney was, there's the other team's best perimeter scorer. Go lock him up. Like, that was the primary function that he had at Indiana. Micah's probably, if we're being honest, been asked over the last 2 seasons to do probably more than what we would say he is comfortable with doing. It'll be interesting if he gets back into a role like he was his freshman year, where he shot it really well. Like, you remember on that team, you had Jaron Cumberland, you had Javen Cumberland, you had Trey Scott.
Right.
You had a lot more options offensively where he wasn't tasked with a heavy responsibility. It will be interesting to see if he can trend back towards some of those efficiency numbers offensively, because then you have a really nice pair of guys that complement each other on the offensive end at your point guard position.
Yeah, and Finney coming in, he's coming off a down year for sure. I think anyone who
he battled plantar fasciitis.
He did. And so I don't know. I think once he gets into that rehab with Ray Felt and the boys in the training staff, I think it'll be very interesting what he brings to the table with Wes in this offense. And like we've talked about before, I don't know that with Finney having played for 3 different coaches, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, he played for Archie, and then Woodson, and now Wes.
Well, but even before that, wasn't who was there before
Archie?
How long was Archie there? Because I think Archie was only there for 2 years.
I think Archie was there longer than that.
When did Crean leave? But in any case, yeah, I think that essentially you have him finally in a system where he is maybe going to thrive, as this was his choice, where he wanted to go. So I think it'll be just interesting to see how he develops in Wes's system, as this was where his options led him.
Yeah, Archie was there 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, Crean was at Indiana or at Georgia long enough to land the number 1 recruit in the country, not do anything with him, and still keep his job for 2 years before getting fired. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So the wild card in this, right, is David DeJulius. Because he's going to probably, I would assume, start off the ball. But as the season progresses, it will be interesting if a Daniel Skillings develops into a guy you have to have on the floor for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have John Newman, and you have Landers Nolly, and all of a sudden, and Josh Reed. And you have all these guys that you need to get on the floor at the 2, the 3, maybe even the 4, impacting what you're doing. The more we see David DeJulius at point guard, the better that Wes Miller feels about everything else he's putting on the floor, right?
Sure.
Because I don't think, Dave, as we saw 2 years ago, he can run the point. It's not that he's bad running the point. But I don't think it's where he's best mentally. I think he's best with the mindset of somebody else is running the show and I'm the guy that's getting the buckets, right?
Well,
because some guys just aren't wired to do all of those things.
With Landers Nolly entering the picture and maybe being the guy that they lean into a little bit more to be the bucket getter, maybe Dave's okay in that role, though, at point guard a little bit more, not being...
Yeah, but he's at his best when he's focused
playing
on
off the
scoring.
Ball. Sure.
I mean, you can have... I know this is something that's difficult. I know it's difficult for Cincinnati fans to get their brain around. But you are allowed to have more than one guy on the floor that can get you buckets.
It's been a while, so we're still adjusting to what that may look like. We still, listen, it's kind of like a unicorn. You've heard about it. You haven't seen it though, right?
More like Bigfoot.
It's been since Gary and
Jake
Jaron and Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's and Trey. Like
It's been like 5 years. It's like 5 years. Yeah.
A whole pandemic went by since we've had more than.
So that part I think is going to be fascinating to me because there's certainly like, you want to talk stretches in the middle of a half or like, at the under 12 timeout, where, you get Dave a rest. He comes back in at the under 12. He's at point guard. You've got Skillings and potentially Newman and Nolly at the 2, 3, 4, and one of your big guys on the floor, and all of a sudden you feel a lot better about where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, well, like we've talked about though, this is kind of the trickle down effect of bringing in a Landers Nolly to where you don't have to rely so much upon David DeJulius. You don't have to rely so much upon Micah Adams Woods. You don't have to rely so much upon, other guys, or even Jeremiah Davenport or whoever the case may be. Like
right.
it's having the potential for what this team looks like on paper. The way that this should work out is your point guard should be the guy distributing, really,
and defending,
and
being the head of the snake if you're going to press. Like there's a lot of other things you can use your point guard to do if you're not asking him to shoulder the responsibility of taking 14 shots a game, like Julius had to do last year.
Well, and unless Micah Adams Woods can figure out how to make a layup consistently without Harlem Globetrottering it.
Yeah.
I
think he got in his, like, the weird thing was that wasn't something we saw him do a lot his first 2 years. So clearly something got in his head where he lost confidence in some of his ability to get things done.
Yeah, his shooting percentage dropped from 42% in 1920, 39% in 2021, and 34% in 21-22.
Yeah. He also took a lot more shots that
absolutely, without question.
He probably is better off not being asked to shoulder the responsibility of getting the ball on the rim that many times.
Yeah, so, he more than doubled his shots per game from his freshman year last year.
I mean, I think if between those 2.5 guys, because you're still going to see DeJulius at the 2 plenty. If between those 3 guys, you can pretty consistently get 15, 16, 17 points a night and, 6 assists, 5, 6 assists. I think you feel pretty good about where the roster is at as we start to get into looking at the wings and looking at the forwards and looking at, the options at big men.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that Wes will have at his disposal that he did not have last year. And point guard being the biggest difference, I think, with the addition of Finney.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, we talked about there was a lot of complimentary guys, but there's a lot of Indians, not enough Chiefs, I guess, if you will. And now you get a couple more Chiefs in the picture. And what are you doing?
The cat is down here, and I didn't want it to pull the cord out of my microphone. That was becoming a thing that I was nervous about.
It looked very serious. The look on your face was very concerned.
You need a mic to do shows.
Speaking of, I think that'll kind of conclude the point guard deal for tonight. But big guest on the BCJ pod tomorrow night. I'm excited.
I'm excited for you guys. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be in Cincinnati taking care of some things, but I'm definitely excited for you guys.
Do you need me to send out the invites?
I can still set that up for you. That's no problem.
Okay. Mike Rayfelt, the one of the ones that you guys have been asking for time and time again, and for one reason or another has just never fully come together. Has agreed to join Dave and I tomorrow night, which is good because I don't know what the hell else we were going to talk about. There's not a lot going on right now.
It's that time of year, man.
I'm using everything I can to keep this show going. We're firing all the bullets in the gun to keep the daily show going, which makes it a challenge for the weekly shows to still have things to talk about. So
thank God the Reds screwed up $3 beer and $2 hot dog night last
right?
night, or I don't know where we would have gone for PTP.
Yeah. Got a good 30-40 minutes out of the beer and hot dog night. It's always, sometimes you just got to run with stuff for a while, even if Kathy complains. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you when we see you. I'm not sure when that's going to be. It'll hopefully be here in a couple days, day or two. But he's Aaron Smith. I'm Chad Brendel. Galactic Fried Chicken is the sponsor. The Nightcap is the show. And BearcatJournal.com is where it all happens.
See ya!